What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Renier de Ridder recently went off on Paulo Costa while discussing what went down behind the scenes before his upcoming fight in Vancouver. Before Brendan Allen stepped in as a short notice replacement for the event, it looked like RDR was actually on track to share the octagon with Costa. However, according to RDR, things quickly fell apart due to Costa's long list of demands. During an interview with MMA Fighting this week, RDR explained that Costa added far too many stipulations to the potential matchup, which made negotiations impossible. He said Costa would have been a fun opponent, and that the entire build-up could have been entertaining for fans, but the Brazilian made things complicated from the start. Costa wanted the fight at a catchweight and requested it be scheduled for 3 rounds instead of 5. RDR said once those conditions were brought up, his team decided to move on. In his words, "If you get an opportunity like that, don't overcomplicate it, just say yes." RDR added that Costa missed out on a great chance to climb back into title contention. He explained that opportunities like these don't come around often, and putting unnecessary stipulations on the table only shows a lack of confidence. With Costa backing out, RDR and Brendan Allen quickly agreed to step in and make the fight happen. Both men are now set to face off this weekend in Vancouver, and fans are expecting fireworks inside the cage. As for Costa, he hasn't fought since his win over Roman Kopylov back in July, and there's still no clear word on when he'll return to action. While RDR is focused on making a statement in his next fight, he didn't hold back his frustration, making it clear that Costa's attitude cost him a big opportunity and a spotlight fight on a major card. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Tom Aspinall has sent a strong warning to the rest of the UFC heavyweight division, reminding everyone just how dangerous and unpredictable he truly is. Speaking ahead of his highly anticipated matchup with Cyril Gane, the champion made it clear that the world has only seen a fraction of what he's capable of inside the octagon. Because Aspinall has never made it out of the second round in his entire MMA career, there's very little footage available for potential opponents to study. During his interview with RMC Sport Combat, Aspinall explained that this lack of exposure actually works in his favor. He said that since his fights end so quickly, fans and fighters alike have only witnessed around 10 to 20% of his full skill set. According to him, that's one of his biggest advantages. No one really knows what he can do when the fight goes long. He added that every additional round would only reveal more of his strategy and ability, something he's been able to keep hidden due to his quick finishes. Aspinall went on to say that this upcoming fight will be his 10th appearance in the UFC, yet he's still somewhat of a mystery to everyone in the heavyweight division. He's only gone past the first round once since joining the promotion, a rare statistic that highlights just how dominant and efficient he's been. His combination of speed, precision, and fight IQ continues to make him one of the most dangerous heavyweights on the planet. As he prepares to defend his title against Cyril Gane, Aspinall remains confident that his unpredictability and composure will be key. He believes that the less his opponents know, the harder it will be for them to prepare, making him a nightmare matchup for anyone who dares to stand across from him in the cage. Moving on to another news, Khamzat recently reflected on his fight with Plessis, admitting that the matchup wasn't as tough as he initially expected. Speaking after the bout, Khamzat said he went into the fight thinking Plessis would present a much bigger challenge, but things played out differently inside the octagon. He explained that while Plessis is not a weak fighter, he simply couldn't match the strength and technical ability Khamzat brought to the table. Khamzat said, "To be honest, I thought the guy would be a little stronger, but he's not a weak fighter. I just didn't give him much of a chance. My wrestling and grappling technique are on another level." He went on to say that the fight didn't unfold in a way that allowed him to fully display all his skills, but even so, he was satisfied with how dominant he looked. The performance once again proved why Khamzat remains one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. His relentless pace, grappling control, and overall physicality made it clear that he continues to operate on a level above most of his opponents, including Plessis, who couldn't find any answers on fight night. Moving on to another news, Merab shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Henry and Peyton Talbot at UFC 323. The matchup has caught a lot of attention, and Merab made it clear that he believes Henry will get back on track and end his 3-fight losing streak. During a recent chat, Merab admitted he didn't know much about Peyton at first, but then recalled who he was, the young fighter with curly hair and a tattoo, known for his boxing style. Merab remembered that Peyton lost earlier in the year when Umar fought, but later bounced back with a solid win. Even with that, Merab seemed confident that Henry's experience and fight IQ would make the difference. Merab said he feels Henry should beat him, but also admitted it's not an easy matchup. He pointed out that Henry hasn't been using his wrestling or grappling as much in his recent fights, which could be a concern. According to Merab, even if Henry decides to use his wrestling, there's a risk of him getting tired since he might not be training as hard as before. He wasn't completely sure about Henry's training habits, but hinted that the former double. Champ may not be putting in the same kind of work he used to during his prime. Despite those concerns, Merab still hopes to see Henry pull through and win this one. He said he's rooting for him to come out strong and prove that he still belongs among the elite. Merab also acknowledged that this fight is a tough test for both men, Peyton being young and hungry, while Henry is an experienced veteran trying to make one last push in his career. As the conversation wrapped up, Merab even hinted that if Henry wins, he wouldn't mind facing him in the future. It was clear from his tone that he respects Henry's legacy, but also sees an opportunity for himself down the line. Moving on to another news, Jon Anik believes all the pressure is on Tom Aspinall ahead of his upcoming heavyweight title defense against Cyril Gane at UFC 321. Anik explained that this fight represents one of the biggest pressure moments in recent UFC memory. He said that given everything Tom has gone through over the last couple of years, this matchup in Abu Dhabi carries enormous weight for his legacy and career trajectory. Anik pointed out that Tom has only fought for about 60 seconds in the past 2 years, referencing his quick win over Curtis Blades and the lengthy layoff that followed after his serious knee injury. Despite returning and capturing the undisputed heavyweight title, he's still yet to truly prove himself in a long, grueling battle against a top contender. That's why, according to Anik, this title defense against Gane is an incredible test, both mentally and physically. He described Gane as a unique challenge. On one hand, Gane's technical striking and movement make him a difficult opponent, but in other aspects, Anik believes he might be a more favorable matchup compared to some of the division's heavy hitters. Still, the pressure on Tom is enormous. The UFC has been building him up as the next big thing in the heavyweight division, and Anik says that losing in his first title defense could completely shift that narrative. Anik compared the potential impact of a loss to one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, when Matt Serra defeated Georges St-Pierre. He said that if Gane were to beat Aspinall, it would be seen as a massive shock to the MMA world, especially given Tom's current momentum and the UFC's investment in his rise. The stakes are incredibly high, and Tom knows it. He also mentioned that fighters like Alex Pereira and Ilia have created huge waves in their divisions, setting the standard for what dominant champions look like. That kind of success adds even more pressure to Tom's situation, as fans and the promotion expect him to carry the torch for the heavyweight division. Anik concluded that Tom's journey has been inspiring but unpredictable. With only a few minutes of cage time in 2 years, he faces not just a technical battle against Gane, but also a psychological one, dealing with the expectations, the spotlight, and the weight of being seen as the future of heavyweight MMA. All eyes will be on him to see if he can live up to the hype when he steps into the octagon in Abu Dhabi. Moving on to another news, Ronda Rousey's potential comeback to the UFC has become a major talking point lately, but not everyone thinks it should happen. UFC analyst Dean Thomas believes Ronda should not be cleared to fight again, saying it would be both unsafe and irresponsible to let her step back into the octagon after everything she has revealed about her health. Last summer, Ronda appeared on Chris Van Vliet's Insight podcast, where she opened up about her condition, admitting that even if she wanted to return, she isn't neurologically fit to compete anymore. Those comments raised serious concern about her long-term health, and according to Dean Thomas, any talk of her return should be shut down immediately. Recently, Ronda has been back in the gym after giving birth and finding her rhythm again, which has sparked rumors of a possible return. But Dean isn't convinced. Speaking on The Bonfire, he explained that allowing Ronda to fight again would be a huge mistake, saying she shouldn't even be cleared. How irresponsible would it be for a fight organization to hear all that and then still put her in a fight? He went on to suggest that maybe Ronda mentioned her medical condition publicly to make sure the promotion didn't pressure her into fighting again. You can't play with those issues, he said firmly. It wouldn't be good for the sport, and it would be a terrible look for the UFC to knowingly let her fight after hearing something like that. Dean emphasized that the UFC has to prioritize fighter safety, especially in cases like this where neurological health is involved. If that's the case, he said, we've got to keep her out of the octagon. As for Ronda, she doesn't seem too focused on fighting anyway. In a recent interview with TMZ Sports, she made it clear that she's just enjoying being active again, spending time training, and rediscovering her love for the sport in a healthier, more relaxed way. She said she's found happiness simply being back in the gym without the pressure of competing. While many fans would love to see the former champion return to action, it seems her own words, and those of experienced analysts like Dean Thomas, point to a different reality. Ronda's legacy as one of the most dominant female fighters in MMA history is already secure, and perhaps her time in the cage has truly come to an end. For now, she appears content focusing on her health, her family, and her life outside the octagon. Moving on to another news, Khamzat has accused Sean Strickland of bringing a weapon to the gym after a heated exchange between them over text messages. The incident reportedly took place during the time Khamzat was training at Extreme Couture. In a recent interview, Khamzat opened up about what really happened, saying that while things were fine between them at first, one misunderstanding quickly escalated. He explained that when they used to train together, Sean acted completely normal, but everything changed after a small argument. Khamzat said that one day, following a disagreement in their gym group chat, Sean showed up the next day walking around with a gun, apparently believing that Khamzat was going to attack him. The situation shocked Khamzat, who said he never intended for things to go that far. According to him, the whole issue started because of a message in the gym's group chat. Someone from Chechnya had written a comment, and Khamzat responded jokingly saying, "I thought all Chechens are strong." Then he told the guy, "You're an American chicken. I'll beat you up." He said the other person later clarified that it was just a misunderstanding. But by then, Sean had already taken it seriously. Khamzat went on to say that at that time, his English wasn't very good, and he didn't fully understand everything that was said. He admitted that he might have reacted too quickly because he thought Sean had said something bad about Chechens. "I realized he said something bad, so I immediately attacked him, just in case," Khamzat said. He also added that it wasn't about hate or personal issues, just a misunderstanding that spun out of control. The whole situation, according to Khamzat, could have been avoided if communication had been clearer. But he found it strange that Sean would go as far as to bring a gun to the gym over a text exchange. The story has now reignited talk about the tension between the two fighters, showing once again how easily things can escalate in the world of MMA. Moving on to another news. Dana White has added a fight to UFC 321 at the very last minute. With the event just a week away, fans were surprised when reports came in this morning from Lert Vana confirming that Walter Walker will now face Louis Sutherland. This matchup adds more excitement to the already stacked pay-per-view card. Walker was originally scheduled to compete at UFC Rio, but that bout was cancelled after his opponent, Muhammad Usman, the brother of former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, showed elevated testosterone levels back in September. Since then, Walker has been waiting for a chance to get back inside the octagon, and now he finally gets it. Louis Sutherland, on the other hand, has been looking to make a strong impression, and this fight presents him with a big opportunity on a major stage. Both fighters have something to prove. Walker wants to re-establish his momentum after the cancelled fight, while Sutherland aims to pull off an upset and boost his name among the heavyweights. With this late edition, UFC 321 just got even more intriguing, and fight fans can expect an explosive showdown between two powerful contenders ready to leave it all in the cage. Moving on to another news. Dana White recently spoke about the highly discussed UFC White House event. During his post-fight press conference after the Contender Series last night, Dana addressed the growing buzz surrounding the card. He revealed that despite all the fan excitement and rumors, the UFC hasn't even started discussing any potential matchups for the event yet. Dana made it clear that the organization is still months away from putting the card together, explaining that planning for the White House event won't begin until February. During the interview, Dana was also asked about Conor's current suspension related to anti-doping policy violations. The question was whether Conor would still be eligible to compete on the White House card, which is expected to take place in March. Dana responded by saying that it's far too early to make any decisions regarding Conor's status or participation. He emphasized that the team hasn't had any internal talks about the fights for that card, and mentioned that issues like Conor's eligibility will be discussed with Jeff Nowitzki, who oversees the UFC's athlete health and performance programs. Dana's comments made it clear that, while the idea of a UFC White House event has captured everyone's attention, nothing concrete has been planned yet. The organization is currently focused on wrapping up the remaining events of the year before shifting its attention to next year's schedule. For now, fans will have to wait until February to see how the White House card shapes up and whether it will include Conor or any other major stars. Moving on to another news, Dana White has revealed that Ilia could very well be part of the first ever Paramount card. During his post-event media interaction, Dana was asked about the upcoming January event and whether the UFC had anything special planned for this huge debut show. He confirmed that matchmaking officially started today, marking the beginning of preparations for the highly anticipated Paramount card. Dana mentioned that the UFC team has just begun working on putting the lineup together and that the process of finalizing fights is now underway. When asked if there's a chance Ilia might end up fighting on the card, Dana didn't hold back. He said it's definitely a possibility, acknowledging Ilia as one of the biggest rising stars in the sport right now. Ilia's momentum has been building rapidly after his dominant performances and title success, and fans have been eager to see what's next for him. Dana's response hinted that the promotion could be looking to make a major statement by featuring Ilia on such a historic event. The Paramount card is expected to be one of the most significant moments in UFC's expansion, combining high-level production with blockbuster fights to mark a new era for the company. With Ilia's name now in the conversation, excitement among fans is already through the roof. While Dana didn't confirm any matchups or opponents yet, his comments were enough to get the MMA world buzzing. As of now, the UFC is focused on building something massive for that January card, and if Ilia does headline or feature on it, it would instantly add star power to one of the most anticipated cards of the upcoming year. Moving on to another news. Bisping and Paul Felder recently shared their thoughts on the upcoming fight between Henry and Peyton Talbot at UFC 323. Both analysts believe this is a massive risk for the young Peyton, calling it a high-risk, high-reward move. They agree that Henry poses a serious stylistic threat and could create major problems for Peyton with his world-class grappling and championship experience. Bisping pointed out that this wasn't a matchup he expected to see, but admitted it's an intriguing one. He said that Payton's decision to accept a fight with someone as decorated as Henry shows courage, but it also exposes him to one of the toughest tests of his career. Felder agreed, adding that Henry's wrestling and control could give Payton a lot of trouble, especially considering his previous loss came against a strong grappler. They both recalled Payton's first defeat, which came against Ronnie Barcelos by decision, where he was largely out-grappled. Since then, Payton has rebounded well, earning a solid win over Felipe Lima and building momentum again. But now, stepping in against Henry, the former double champ and Olympic gold medalist, is a whole different challenge. Bisping said this is a huge leap in competition, from fighting contenders to facing one of the greatest combat athletes of all time. Felder noted that stylistically, Henry is a nightmare for many young fighters because of his mix of speed, pressure, and elite-level wrestling. However, he also said that with big risks come big rewards. If Payton somehow manages to defeat Henry, that loss to Barcelos would quickly be forgotten, and his stock would skyrocket. A win like that could instantly place him in the mix with the division's top names and push him toward a title conversation. Bisping emphasized that if Payton beats Henry, he won't be fighting lower-ranked opponents anymore. He'd immediately jump into the top tier, where the elite fighters reside. Still, both analysts agreed that Payton needs to come in sharper than ever, particularly with his takedown defense and overall grappling game. They made it clear that this is not just another fight. It's a career-defining moment for the young prospect. While for Henry, it's a chance to prove that he still has what it takes to compete at the highest level. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.